He had left a message for her to tell me that he was filing for divorce.
Justine Wilson left his life much the same way he charged into the future: fast, emotionally distant, and impossible to slow down. Their marriage ended the moment she realized the man she had married no longer existed. But what changed? And how did one of the world's most driven visionaries become someone impossible to live with? In the early 1990s at Queen's University in Ontario, Canada, Justine Wilson was an 18-year-old English literature student from Peterborough, with dreams of becoming a fantasy novelist. She had already lived abroad as an exchange student in Australia, earned a black belt in Taekwondo, and carried a quiet self-assurance that didn't seek approval. When a thin, socially awkward Elon Musk approached her on campus and asked her out for ice cream, she politely declined. Most people would have taken the hint. Elon didn't. Hours later, he showed up at her dorm room holding 2 melting ice cream cones, refusing to accept no as an answer. Years later, Justine would look back on that moment as charming, never imagining that what felt like persistence would one day reveal itself as something else entirely. In hindsight, it was a preview. They dated on and off throughout university. When Elon transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, after 2 years, the distance should have ended their relationship. Instead, Justine told her sister she'd reconsider if he ever reached out again. Exactly 1 week later, he called. It felt almost like a story she might have written herself. After graduating, Justine spent a year teaching English in Japan, while Elon moved to Silicon Valley, fully consumed by building startups. Then, in 1999, everything changed. Elon sold Zip2 for roughly $37 million. Overnight, he went from struggling entrepreneur to multimillionaire. He bought a massive condo, a McLaren F1, and even a small plane. Private jets and flying lessons became part of daily life, an unreal contrast to the world Justine knew. Still, she believed they were building a future together, a partnership between a woman who created stories and a man who built empires. Later that year, they got engaged. But not long after, Elon arranged a meeting with a lawyer. He told Justine it was a financial agreement requested by his company's board. When she hesitated, he reassured her it wasn't a prenup. Technically, he was telling the truth. It was a post-nuptial agreement, signed after the engagement. Trusting him completely, Justine signed without fully reviewing it. That choice would later haunt her. They married in January 2000. At their wedding reception, as they danced, Elon leaned in and whispered words that should have stopped everything cold. "I am the alpha in this relationship." Justine laughed it off, assuming it was awkward humor. It wasn't. It was a declaration, a clear signal of how he viewed their marriage, not as an equal partnership, but as a hierarchy, with him firmly at the top. 2 years later, their first child, Nevada Alexander Musk, was born. For 10 beautiful weeks, life expanded beyond startups and manuscripts. Then, without warning, Nevada stopped breathing. Their son was gone. Few marriages survive the loss of a child. Grief either binds people together or tears them apart. For Justine and Elon, it did the latter. Justine grieved openly, needing to talk, remember, and sit with the pain. Elon shut down. He compartmentalized the loss, refusing to discuss it. According to Justine, he made it clear he didn't want to talk about Nevada at all. "We can either wallow in sadness or move forward," he reportedly told her. To Justine, it felt like erasure, as if their son had been deleted from Elon's internal system. To Elon, it was survival. He didn't know how to process grief, so he did what he always did: moved on to the next problem. Despite everything, they tried to continue. In 2004, they welcomed twins Griffin and Xavier. 2 years later, In 2006, triplets Kai, Saxon, and Damien were born. 5 children in total. Their home should have been full of noise, warmth, and joy, but beneath the surface, something essential was already breaking apart. But instead of fulfillment, Justine slowly began to feel invisible. In her later essay, she described the transformation as becoming Elon's trophy wife, a label that cut deeply, especially because she had fought hard to maintain her own identity. She wasn't just standing beside him, she was a published author in her own right. Her debut novel Blood Angel was released in 2005, followed by Uninvited in 2007. She had a career, a voice, and ambitions of her own. Yet Elon's world was expanding at such a relentless pace that everything else seemed to orbit around him, or get pulled under entirely. According to Justine, he frequently pointed out ways she didn't measure up, criticizing her weight, her appearance, even her choices. When she pushed back and reminded him, "I'm your wife, not your employee," he allegedly replied, "If you were my employee, I'd fire you." Not in anger, but with the cold certainty of someone stating a fact. During this period, Elon was attempting the impossible, building 2 high-risk companies at the same time. Tesla was burning cash and constantly flirting with bankruptcy. SpaceX had already suffered 3 failed rocket launches and was one disaster away from shutting down. His attention wasn't split between work and family. There was only work, with brief interruptions for domestic life. Even when he was physically present, his mind was elsewhere. Justine felt like a background character in someone else's origin story. Then came the car accident. In the spring of 2008, another vehicle collided with hers. No one was injured, but her first thought wasn't relief. It was fear. My husband is going to kill me. Standing beside her luxury car with its front wheel destroyed, something finally snapped into focus. She saw herself clearly for the first time in years. Very thin, platinum blonde, and almost unrecognizable. Elon had pushed her to dye her hair blonde, even though she'd been a brunette when they met. She realized she had slowly disappeared. They entered couples therapy soon after, but even there, emotions were treated like inefficiencies. When the therapist asked Elon if he understood what Justine needed, he reportedly replied bluntly, "If she has a problem with the way I am, she knows where the door is." Weeks later, he didn't tell Justine directly. He used the therapist as a messenger. He was filing for divorce. The marriage was over. No discussion, no negotiation. 6 weeks later, Justine received a text message. Elon was engaged to a young British actress, Tallulah Riley, whom he had met at a London nightclub. She was in her early 20s, had appeared in Pride and Prejudice, and had moved to Los Angeles to be with him. Justine later remarked on the irony, her life had become a cliché, though she did note one small relief. Riley wasn't blonde. Riley was just 22 when she met the 37-year-old Elon in 2008 at a London bar. In interviews, she described him as shy and gentle, even asking permission before placing his hand on her knee, something she found charming. 10 days later, he proposed. She laughed, assuming it was a joke, until she realized he was serious. They married into 2010 in an extravagant ceremony at Dornoch Cathedral in Scotland, the same location where Madonna had her son baptized. Fireworks lit up the sky, and the wedding looked like a fairy tale. But it wasn't a happily ever after. The marriage lasted just 2 years. In January 2012, Elon announced their divorce on Twitter, writing, "It was an amazing 4 years. I will love you forever. You will make someone very happy one day." He later told Forbes that they had separated to see if time apart would rekindle their feelings. But it hadn't. He still loved her, he said, but he wasn't in love with her. Riley received a $4.2 million settlement under their prenuptial agreement. Then things took a strange turn. 18 months later, in July 2013, the couple remarried. The same man who had publicly declared marriage too difficult. The same woman who had already walked away with millions. Riley explained to the press that it felt odd to be together unmarried after having already been husband and wife. That second marriage lasted 3 years. In December 2014, Elon filed for divorce again, only to withdraw the petition 7 months later. The back and forth raised eyebrows and fueled speculation. Finally, in March 2016, Riley filed for divorce herself, stating they had been living apart for 6 months. By October 2016, the divorce was finalized. This time, Riley received an additional $16 million, bringing her total settlement from both marriages to more than $20 million. Then things shifted from strange to truly astonishing. Despite 2 marriages, 3 divorce filings, and 2 finalized divorces, Tallulah Riley and Elon Musk remained close friends. Riley continued to defend him publicly, describing him as emotional and deeply passionate, rather than the cold, robotic figure many assumed him to be. In 2024, she married actor Thomas Brody Sangster of Love Actually fame, and remarkably, Elon Musk attended the wedding as a guest. So what really happened between all those attempts at love? Why did Elon Musk marry and divorce the same woman twice? The answer appears painfully simple. He never learned how to switch off his obsession with work. Riley once said that being married to Elon was like living with a storm. You couldn't stop it, you could only endure it. She described sitting beside him for hours while he stared into code or engineering schematics, nodding politely when she spoke, without truly hearing her. He slept on factory floors to meet Tesla production deadlines. That relentless discipline built 2 world-changing companies, but it left no room for intimacy. A troubling pattern had clearly formed. Elon struggled to sustain relationships. After Riley, he entered a highly public and volatile relationship with actress Amber Heard from 2016 to 2018. It was intense, chaotic, and ultimately unsustainable, marked by repeated breakups and dramatic reunions. Musk later admitted he couldn't be happy without love, despite consistently failing to maintain it. Then came Claire Boucher, the experimental Canadian musician known as Grimes. Their meeting was as unconventional as possible, sparked by a shared joke about an obscure AI thought experiment called Rocco's Basilisk. For Elon, Grimes represented something different, someone who spoke his language of futurism and technology, but filtered it through art, chaos, and imagination, rather than engineering precision. Their public debut at the 2018 Met Gala felt like the collision of 2 entirely different universes. Together, they had 3 children, Xaeac, Exe Dark Cedarale, nicknamed Y, born via surrogate in December 2021, and Techno Mechanicus, called Tau, born in late 2023. Their children's names became internet memes, and their relationship became a spectacle but not a joyful one. Once again, the familiar pattern resurfaced. In September 2021, Elon told Page 6 that they were probably semi-separated. His work demanded his presence in Texas, while Grimes remained based in Los Angeles. By March 2022, Grimes confirmed the breakup, though she still referred to him as her best friend and the love of her life. Then came the revelation that shattered everything. In July 2022, court documents revealed that Elon had secretly fathered twins in November 2021 with Siobhan Zilis, an executive at Neuralink. The twins were born just weeks before Elon and Grimes welcomed their daughter Exa via surrogate. Grimes later said she discovered the existence of the twins around the same time the public did. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was public, deeply humiliating, and impossible to escape. By September 2023, the situation had escalated into open legal warfare. Grimes filed a petition in California to establish parental rights, while Elon filed a custody case in Texas the very same day. The jurisdictional battle was strategic. California places no cap on child support, while Texas limits payments to just $2,760 per month for 3 children. For a man worth over $300 billion, the difference was staggering. Grimes fought back, but she was up against the world's richest man, with only a fraction of his resources. In July 2024, her mother, Sandy Garosino, made a public plea on X, begging Elon to return the children's passports so they could visit their 93-year-old great-grandmother, who was in palliative care. That visit never happened. The great-grandmother passed away without seeing them one last time. The custody case was finally settled in August 2024 in Travis County, Texas. The terms remain sealed, but the emotional damage was already done. And when it comes to damage, there's still one story left to tell: the pain that ultimately shaped Elon Musk himself. Vivian Jenna Wilson, born Xavier Alexander Musk on April 15, 2004, is one of the twins from Elon Musk's marriage to Justine Wilson. For the first 16 years of her life, she lived as her father's son. In 2020, she came out as transgender to her aunt, and soon after, she cut off all contact with Elon. She no longer wished to be connected to him in any capacity. Vivian legally adopted her mother's maiden name, deliberately removing Musk from her identity altogether. Elon reportedly learned about her transition not from Vivian or Justine, but through his biographer, Walter Isaacson. At first, he expressed excitement, but that reaction quickly shifted. He later rejected Vivian's transition, claiming he had been misled into signing documents authorizing puberty blockers when she was 16. He went on to say that his child had fallen victim to what he called the woke mind virus. Vivian did not remain silent. In her first interview with NBC News, she described her father as cold, quick-tempered, emotionally distant, and narcissistic. She said he had been largely absent during her childhood, present perhaps 10% of the time. She also revealed that he had mocked and harassed her for expressing femininity and queerness from a very young age. By 2025, Vivian had stepped fully into her own life. She appeared on the cover of Teen Vogue, moved to Japan to study, returned to Los Angeles to pursue modeling, and signed with Creative Artists Agency. She was building an identity entirely separate from her father's empire. When asked about Elon, she was blunt and unflinching. She called him a pathetic man-child and questioned why she should fear him simply because he was wealthy. She had not spoken to him since 2020. To her, the relationship was already over, emotionally final. From Justine to Tallulah, to Grimes, to Vivian, a strikingly similar theme emerges among those closest to Elon Musk. He is consistently described as emotionally unavailable. When people seek connection, he offers solutions. When they need presence, his mind is already elsewhere. When they ask to be seen, he is focused on building the future. Justine felt like an employee he could dismiss at will. Tallulah described surviving a storm. Grimes watched him become someone she no longer recognized. Vivian experienced him as distant and uncaring. Even Tallulah Riley, who continues to defend him publicly and once called him her perfect ex-husband, acknowledges the core reality. Being with Elon means accepting that he is never fully present. His mind is always years ahead, calculating Mars colonies while someone beside him is asking about dinner plans. And this is where the story turns tragic. Elon Musk has repeatedly said that he cannot be happy unless he is in love. In a 2017 Rolling Stone interview, he admitted that loneliness frightens him more than anything else. Without a long-term companion, happiness feels unreachable. Yet the same relentless drive that makes him revolutionary also renders him emotionally inaccessible. He has built rockets that land themselves, electric cars that reshaped an industry, and satellites that deliver internet across the globe. He has transformed multiple fields at once, but he has not figured out how to sustain a marriage, maintain a relationship with his transgender daughter, or co-parent without descending into legal warfare. Today, Elon Musk has at least 14 children with multiple women. With Justine, he shares 5 living sons, along with Nevada, who passed away in infancy. With Grimes, he has 3 children. And with Siobhan Zillis, he has 3 more, including twins and a daughter named Arcadia. In February 2025, conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair revealed she had given birth to a son, Romulus, with Elon Musk 5 months earlier. She filed for paternity and custody, claiming Musk had been largely absent from their lives. True to form, Musk seemed focused on solving the population crisis he often tweets about, one child at a time, born weeks apart to different mothers, with announcements emerging through leaked court documents rather than family celebrations. Meanwhile, Justine Wilson lives in Los Angeles, raising her sons and reclaiming her identity as a writer. She has published multiple fantasy novels, transforming the invisibility she endured in her marriage into stories about powerful women refusing to disappear. Tallulah Riley remarried, tying the knot with Thomas Brody Sangster in June 2024, with Elon attending the wedding. Riley has also published 2 novels of her own, Acts of Love in 2016 and The Quickening in 2022, and remains one of the few exes to speak warmly of him. Yet she acknowledges a painful truth. Loving someone doesn't always mean you can survive being with them. Grimes is rebuilding her music career after losing a year to custody battles. She channels her grief into her art, pouring poetry and emotion from her soul at a pace she had never experienced before. Her pain has become creation. Vivian Jenna Wilson is forging her own path as well. She models, studies Japanese, and contemplates ventures in Twitch streaming or reality TV. Passionate about trans rights, she is highly active online, and according to Teen Vogue, remarkably skilled at it. She has no interest in her father's world, his wealth, his companies, or his Mars ambitions. To her, he is irrelevant. The lesson in all of this is stark. Genius in one domain does not guarantee wisdom in another. Work ethic does not equal love. You can engineer solutions for physics, but human hearts remain unsolvable. Ambition can reshape the world while simultaneously unraveling the relationships that give life meaning. Elon Musk has undeniably built the future. His companies are transforming transportation, energy, space exploration, and global connectivity. Yet those who have loved him, or tried to, are scattered in his wake. Not because they lacked strength, intelligence, or patience, but because when a person's entire identity is defined by forward momentum, they cannot pause long enough to nurture the intimacy life demands. Justine once asked the question that haunts this story: "Do you even see me anymore?" Across 3 marriages, multiple divorces, and 14 children, the answer appears to be no. He doesn't see them. He sees the mission, the next rocket, the next factory, the next impossible problem. And everyone else, no matter how much they love him or try, eventually becomes background noise in a mind already 5 years ahead.